I'm gonna pop on record now. Yeah, and I mean we can just really get straight into it. Um, yeah, man, how have you been? That's where it kind of starts with, doesn't it? Been a bit of a mad time at the moment.
It's really tricky when anybody asks you, how have you been? You're like, yeah, I'm the same as when you last asked me, because there's nothing to tell anyone. I didn't do anything. I haven't been
Yeah,
anywhere.
yeah,
Yeah, so like I have
yeah.
conversations with people and I'm like, so like my dad, for example, I call him like every, weekend or so, and he's like, what you've been doing? And I've been like, the same as when you last asked me.
Yeah, man. It is a weird kind of thing. Like you have to try to find the little nuggets of opportunity to like still try to be doing something. Honestly, I
Yeah,
think like if you're one of those unlucky people that don't really have things to be doing or don't really know what to be doing, it can be a very like what's the word,
it's like
trapping kind of feeling,
overwhelming.
if you know what I
Yeah,
mean.
yeah.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. It gets the best of us as well. Yeah, I mean, so first off, I'd like to kind of introduce you to the channel and everybody that's watching. For those of you guys that are watching now and don't know who this is Ashley. Kind of a bit of a interesting way that we end up meeting, but if it goes that way, then I'm sure we'll end up going down that as we're talking through today. But
Sure.
yeah, man, I kind of want to get everyone else, and also I kind of want to get an idea of your story, kind of like where kind of an introduction to you, if you
All
know what I
right.
mean.
So shall I go for it? Okay.
Yeah,
So
man. Yeah, go ahead.
So I kind of wear a few hats. I'm a psychiatric nurse by training, and I work part-time in mental health services. And I guess the story is probably better to tell. So that's kind of the first thing I did, like when I got out of school and, what am I going to do with my life? I trained as a nurse, and you know what? It's not been the worst of professions because
What age was this?
so I was like 18, 19 when I started training
Okay.
as a nurse. Yeah, just the other day.
Yeah, just a couple of years younger than me. There you go, yeah. Sorry, carry on.
So I started doing the nurse training, and it's kind of been like a steady career. Like I've always had a job, so that's something to be grateful for, especially in these times. I
Yeah,
mean, there's so many like professions where you just are like shit out of luck. That's it.
100%, just absolutely disappearing as well.
Yeah. So I did that, and then at the same time, I was like interested in dancing. Like when I was at school, I never did like PE or anything. I used to skive PE. I used to just go and
Yeah.
smoke cigarettes and stuff. Um, when we used to get made to play rugby, and basically I would stand
What?
rugby.
You've
You know
been
what
made
rugby
to
is?
play it, like, you're like,
Yeah,
I
in
know.
PE. Yeah, you go to PE, and in the summer it's like run
Yeah,
around the track or whatever. In the
yeah.
winter it was like play rugby in the freezing cold, and so I'd be stood there in my
Because
shorts. Yeah,
basketball's my thing in it, so I don't really do the cold. I can't understand it. The shorts,
yeah,
all of it, man. Hey,
shorts in
there
the
you go.
cold, right? Yeah. And I'd
Absolute
stand at the
madness.
back of the
Sorry, carry
field,
on.
right, with the other poor people who
Mm.
didn't want to play rugby, and I'd rub my knees in the dirt so that the teacher didn't come up to me and tell me to do something.
That's genius. That is genius. I like
Yeah,
that.
it
I
was
like
good.
it.
Yeah. So basically, I didn't do any physical stuff at school. I was like, completely out of touch with my body. Nothing
Mm.
physical interested me. And then a friend of mine took me to a dance class when I was doing my nurse training, and I only went because she wanted to go and she needed someone to go with.
Mm.
And she never went back, but I kind of got hooked.
Mm.
So after my dance training, I went off and after my nurse training, I went off and did a dance training, and I went to live in Holland, and I lived there for about,
Okay. And
seven
what
and a
age was
half
this?
years.
What age
So
would have this
then
been?
I would have been like 23, 24.
Wow. Hey man, I'm 22 now, and I've probably been out of the UK probably a couple of times, and that's going back to Jamaica, man. That's impressive, especially back then as well. Wow. Carry on.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm just in your story.
So I left the country. I moved countries, which was kind of
Mm.
like, it's kind of like a big decision, but somehow at that
Mm.
point it was like I just want to do this thing, and moving countries was, just had to be done.
Yeah.
Um, and I remember I rocked up. I had to go to Holland for an audition, so I went there for a
Mm.
weekend, and it's a long story, but basically I had someone to stay with. And then I did the audition, I got accepted. I was like, whoa, I guess I'm going to Holland. And then I rocked up to Holland, like for the start of the university year. I had nowhere to live. I literally turned up
Oh,
with nowhere to live.
okay. So, well, I mean, life's all about experience, isn't it? So I do love the fact
Right.
you kind of did it, but now, yeah.
As I think about that now, I'm like, that's crazy. But yeah. And yeah, so I spent about 7.5 years in total in Holland, and was dancing and choreographing, making a lot of dance and stuff. Loved living in Holland, a really great country. And then I kind of like lost my way a bit. I was like, this isn't quite for me. So to make it big in the dance world, you kind of have to have like a lot of persistence, but also a strong like self-belief. And you have to have talent. You got to have talent in what you're doing. You know, and the reality is I just wasn't very good at it. It wasn't my thing, really. And
That must
so
have been hard though, especially if like it was
yeah,
one of them kind of things that you really have a passion
yeah.
for. Yeah, man. I
That's
think
kind of that's like a tough call to like kind of come to your senses and stop deluding yourself. Yeah. So there was a period of time when I was like, I don't know what I'm meant to be doing with life. And I guess like by that time I must have been like 30 something.
Okay. Yeah.
And I think I'd like bought a house here in England. I was always worked really hard. So a lot of my friends that were in university were like kind of, you know, oh, we're off going skiing for the holidays. And I was like, that's nice.
Oh God.
I'm going back
I
to
know the
England to
feeling, man.
work. Yeah, right. I was
Yeah,
like, oh,
I don't think I've ever been on one of those like school trips or anything like that. I always wish for it. But you
yeah,
know, it's a blessing and a curse, that thing, and it you
yeah,
learn, you take different things from wherever you are. But yeah,
yeah. And
carry
so
on, sorry.
I had to like work hard. I had to pay my way and stuff. I like lived in a squat for a while because it's like I didn't have money for rent and stuff. Anyway,
Yeah.
I'd kind of saved some money up here in Bristol. I still had a strong connection to Bristol, and I bought a house and stuff. So yeah, that had happened already. And then I met my husband. He wasn't my husband then, of course, but I met my husband in Holland. He's a choreographer, so that was the
Oh,
connection.
cool.
And
Okay.
he lived at that time in New York. So
Oh.
yeah. So he was trained at quite a famous institution called Juilliard. So that's where he went, and he was living in New York.
Name rings the
And
bell. Just a slight
yeah,
one.
yeah. And I didn't know what I was doing with my life, and it was like a new relationship. And I was like, you know, am I allowed to swear on here? I was about to swear. Sorry.
Be as free as you want, man. Be as free as you want. It's all about it's just a conversation, isn't it? So just whatever feels natural to you, bro.
I was like, oh gosh, or in other words, fuck it. I'm gonna.
I mean, would you like to just get a couple of them out right now?
Right, yeah, sorry, you can bleep that out. Yeah. I was like, you know, what do I have to lose? I'm just gonna like follow this guy and go to New York. And ended up living in New York, which wasn't my plan, you know. It wasn't like on the plan. It was just like I ended up there, and I kind of knew I wanted to be in a bigger city. Maybe I kind of was like craving a bit of city life or something. And then I ended up in one of the like, you know, kind of not the biggest cities. It's not the biggest city at all, particularly, but one of the most kind of well-known cities in the world. Yeah. And that's when I started getting more into yoga. I'd already been into yoga and stuff, but I started teaching it in New York. Yeah.
This is one of the things I really wanted to get into as well. You do some very interesting things. But yeah, please do carry on. I keep on interrupting your story, man.
Got my England. This is my England cup today. I don't know why I've got the England one out.
Smashed it. I think I should have got a cup of tea. I'll try and see if I can message my brother to get me one.
Yeah, right.
Man, I can't stop drinking it. And maybe I'm just pulling at strings here, but since I got my British pass, it's like tea tastes better.
Tastes better, right?
I don't know. I'm just hey. Please do carry on.
We can do a whole podcast on tea, I can tell you. Yeah, so anyway,
man, don't get me started.
So I ended up in New York and teaching yoga in New York, which is kind of really interesting because New Yorkers are kind of like pretty full on. They're like really goal oriented, and they're like, you know, kind of the best that they can possibly be. And yoga is kind of a little bit not quite like that. It's not, yoga's not particularly,
Yeah.
you know, about being the best you can be or kind of being better than everybody else. It's about kind of accepting
Is the
yourself
general
a
idea
little bit.
losing the ego and that kind of thing.
Little bit, yeah. So there's a lot of ego in New York. Yeah.
Right. So that must have been quite a sight to see, to like the types of people. I've been obsessed with America for the longest while, like in terms of obviously basketball, and then pretty much most of my TV or movies I watch tend to be from America. So like I used to be obsessed with it, but like when you really kind of break down the psyche of the typical American, it's an interesting place to be. It's an interesting place to be.
Of course, the trouble is, I mean, a typical American is a generalization, of course, but in America, there's quite a split population. I mean, look at the recent elections. Like the election was kind of pretty much split down the middle, yeah. So the views of people are quite different, and the kind of bit in the middle has quite a different view than the bits on the outside. So
and there's loads of little like almost factions dotted in between all of this. It seems like everyone's got their opinion, and they're just either 100% in it or nothing really. It's fair dues, fair enough. It seems like the kind of thing you have to do to survive over there, really. But there you go.
Yeah. It's not Europe. Anywho, so I was in New York for about 5 years or so, and you know, it sounds really glamorous. Like one of the studios I worked in was like based in Soho, and I'd be like in Soho and with my sunglasses on and my like coffee, walking down the street. You know, I was
God, I can imagine it.
It's like, this is the life, right? And then another studio I worked in was the Upper West Side, which is quite an affluent area, a reasonably affluent area, you know. So, you know, it was kind of, in some senses, it was kind of just craziness. But I was earning like peanuts. Peanuts. So
that's the thing. It seems like that's the way over there, isn't it?
Well, it's the way for some people, and then for some other people, it's quite a different story. So, you know. I'd have like clients rock up for private yoga sessions. Their driver would wait downstairs, or they'd be like, you know, kind of in the film industry or in the, you know, kind of. So, you know, people had a lot of money also there. So you were kind of a little bit rubbed up against that kind of, you know, I was kind of pretty poor. So, and one of the reasons we decided to move back here was partly visa issues and stuff. Partly we wanted to get married, and at that point you couldn't get married over there as a same-sex couple. And partly, and partly for like just financial reasons. Like I had a better earning potential over here, so we kind of came back to England, or Adam came here, and we set up home here, and we've been back here for about 10 or 12 years. So now I do a bit of nursing still. I do a bit of yoga still, and also I have retrained as a therapist. So I'm a trauma therapist as well. So I have a few different hats on. There's the short version.
Yeah. I mean, I know we talked a little bit beforehand anyways, and I mean, I think from when the first time that we actually kind of met, I mean, maybe we should give a little bit of context in terms of how we kind of met, because I think that's a very interesting scenario, and I think a lot of other people may even be in similar kind of positions or feel a similar kind of thing. Guys, if you don't mind, at least, if that's all cool.
Well, we met in a situation where you were seeking help, right?
Yeah. I'm kind of curious to see though what, like, kind of, so I'll go through like my perspective of what I feel like kind of happened in scenario. So again, giving context to the viewers at home, it was kind of a situation where I was kind of branching out and stepping into my own, doing things that my mom maybe didn't expect me to do, if you know what I mean. And I think from my point of view, it very much seemed like my mom was very worried about where I was going, and that because that communication wasn't really there too much. And then from that, it kind of escalated into something where she took it in a way where maybe there was something like I was going crazy or something like that. And then I got referred to Ashley. Well, there was a couple little bits in between, but I got referred to
steps,
Ashley.
But details, yeah.
There we go, right? So in my head, I kind of looked at the whole scenario as a bit of kind of a misunderstanding type thing. But from your perspective, I know you're not able to go completely ins and outs of everything, but from your perspective, how did you kind of see it from when you first kind of heard everything about what was going on, from individual bits from people compared to where I'm at now, to where we ended at, if that makes sense?
you seem like the same person. I think there was a bit of miscommunication.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Maybe that was just for me. I just needed to kind of like hear that, if you know what I mean. I know we talked a little bit, but yeah, man. I do think it's especially in this time of Corona and that kind of thing, and everybody's stuck in the house with their families and relatives, friends, all this kind of thing. I think people are almost being forced to look at each other in maybe ways that they never really realized before. And I think it can really catch you. And when it comes to especially parents, there's like this weird kind of almost like they feel like they're trying to protect you, and it's again misunderstanding type thing. But the point I'm trying to get to anyways is it's a hard time at the moment, and especially when it comes to communicating, it can be hard even when it should be easy, that kind of thing. And I'm sure there's a lot of other people struggling with similar things. Do you have like tips or that kind of thing, or advice that you might give in situations like these that we're in at the moment?
So I think you're kind of talking about kind of feeling a little bit kind of trapped with people and not having. Yeah. So I kind of feel like we're all suffering with that, really. And I think actually, I have some friends who have like young kids, and they're having to like homeschool them and stuff, like.
Yeah.
So there's kind of
like
a lot of
stuff in the newspapers about like parents struggling.
Yeah. Because they're not teachers. Well, they might be, but they're trying to do their jobs or earn their income and school their kids at the same time. So I think it's kind of like, and I think the usual channels that we use to kind of like blow off our steam or to just kind of even just balance things out. So what's happening now is because there's not a lot of stuff going on, there's not a lot of stimulation or engagement with other people. Things that would normally be manageable just feel like a lot bigger because there's not other stuff to kind of balance it out. And if you're stuck at home with the same people or the same person for a while, it's like, all those traits that were so adorable.
All of a sudden.
It's like, whoa. So I think part of the problem is the fact that we don't have like a balance in our life. We're not out like chatting with our mates or seeing people or doing sports or going out for a drink or whatever it is we were doing. So that kind of balance is really like shot away. And also we don't know, we're like, when's it going to go back to normal?
This is not.
And of course it ain't going to go back. It ain't going to go back to normal. It's going to be a different world out there. But when are we going to be able to return to some of those other things that we did? And we don't know. We just don't know. And I think that's really difficult for people in general, because if you think of kids, like if the kid's like having a meltdown or doesn't know what's happening, the parent will generally jump in and say, calm down, it's going to be fine, here's what's happening. So they do this thing where they kind of contain it. They're like, here's the edges of it and we know what it is. But at the moment, we're all like a bunch of kids running around and there's no containment because we don't know what we're dealing with. The government's like trying their best or whatever, when's it going to end? So that's quite disconcerting for us, I think, as people, that we're up against something that's so unknown.
No, I was talking to my friend about it literally the other day, about like, in terms of, I was looking at my little brother. I see he's there now doing, basically trying to attend school online. And like, I'm like, okay, it's nice and it's good that the education system's still trying to move, but at the same time, when you really look at it on like a long-term perspective type thing, this will affect a whole generation, if anything, or two. And it's, I don't know, man, it's a strange thing. Because you look around, I mean, personally, if I walk around, go to Tesco, that kind of thing, other than people having a mask, it's trying to match up what you're being told to what you're seeing every single day. And obviously, if you don't have people that are directly affected by things like Corona or whatever, then I don't know, it's hard to feel like it's actually happening, if you know what I mean. Does that make sense?
I think, and I think a lot of people feel that way, don't they? That they're kind of, is it actually happening? But and of course, then we could get into a whole debate about media and what we believe in the media and all that kind of stuff. Let's not go there, maybe. But
no. Try to keep the in terms of like news and like politics, that kind of thing. I try to stay away from them. There are things that'll continuously keep happening, and it's kind of just, keep your ears up to them, but run your life type thing. And so it won't bring that into this space here. But no, you were talking about meditation and yoga earlier on. I've really I've sent you a couple of messages actually. I've really been interested in this kind of thing as of late. I think obviously the whole world going through this like worldwide awakening type situation. Yeah. First, I'd like to kind of see what yoga is to you. I kind of want to understand what yoga is to you, because obviously everyone has their opinions and perspective on different things. But to you, what is yoga?
So I think yoga for a lot of people is like the first thing that comes into their mind is like some really bendy woman in leggings doing some cool poses. That's often what comes into people's minds. Because yoga is kind of populated by kind of about 70 to 80% of women actually. So it's, you know, it's kind of traditionally been like that in the West. So there's a lot of like postures basically, or people doing cool yoga poses. And if you look at Instagram, it's just completely full of that, of course. But yoga's kind of actually...
I've seen your Instagram and and
of course I'm guilty of that.
It's baffling to see that the human body can... carry on.
And nobody's going to be interested in looking at pictures of me with my eyes shut every post, right? I'm meditating. It's like, doesn't make interesting visuals. But so a lot of people think of yoga as being like, you know, a physical practice, which of course part of it is. But if we go way back, the yoga wasn't a physical practice at all. It was kind of about kind of joining yourself with a higher consciousness. So it does have some kind of more religious background actually. So a background in Hinduism, a background also in Buddhism. There's a theory to think that it's quite heavily influenced by Buddhism actually. Jainism, those kind of things. So we're talking about kind of India, the kind of north part of India up into Tibet, that kind of area. But it's, you know, some thousands of years old, connected with some religious kind of beliefs as well, but became more about a way of kind of like living your life. And part of that was about how to live your life kind of well, so how to treat other people, how to treat yourself and stuff. So there were kind of like ethical disciplines, for example, about how we treat ourselves and others. And then it also became about connecting with some kind of higher consciousness, higher purpose stuff. So freeing the system, as it were, to be more connected with other things, like connected first with yourself, but connected also with kind of other people or the world, the universe, the consciousness, etc. And in order to do that connecting thing, then there were certain practices that you did in order to kind of free up the system, as it were. So if the system's like jammed up, it won't kind of be able to be like a conduit very well. Stuff won't be able to pass through it very well. So one of the things that they did was they did lots of breathing practices to get the energy kind of flowing. They also did lots of inner cleansing practices, like cleansing the nose with water. They call this neti. Cleansing the intestines.
I always thought we were talking about drinking some tea or something.
No, they do this thing where you put water up one nostril and down the other nostril to clean the nostrils out. Some people do this in the West if they get like hay fever. Yeah, they do. That works really well for some people who get hay fever.
Really?
Yeah.
It's like a nose bidet thing.
Yeah, basically, nose bidet. That's a really good image. So, and then there were all these other things like kind of, you know, swallowing kind of like stuff to cleanse your like insides, cleanse your gut and stuff. It kind of went kind of far out. So there were some breathing practices, some cleansing practices. And then there was also a kind of practice about kind of readying the mind. And that's really where the kind of meditation part comes in. And the mind is kind of like one of the most powerful parts of us, because the mind kind of just is like constantly going away, one thought after the other, after the other, after the other. And generally that's not really a problem. I mean, no, go ahead.
Oh, no, please go ahead. Well,
I was going to say generally.
Oh no, it's like.
There is a big delay.
It's a delay. Sorry. Yeah, no, you go ahead, mate.
I was just going to say that generally thoughts going through people's heads is not particularly a problem. We can think, we're thinking beings, but sometimes those thoughts can be quite problematic. And maybe especially you know, when we have too much time to think to ourselves, like now we may have too much time, sometimes we can start to get a little bit stuck on the kind of negative stuff. And in a way, that's like our biology. Our biology is to focus on the negative stuff, because what we're looking for as animals is to look for danger. Where's the next dangerous thing going to happen? And what do I do to like make sure it's going to be all right? We're pre-programmed to focus on dangerous, bad stuff. It's just in our biology. But as kind of humans evolving now, more cognitive thinking humans, we're kind of like, we get really busy on thinking about all the negative shit, basically.
It's almost like second nature.
So yoga can be really helpful because it kind of can help train you a little bit to kind of train your mind a bit, to still the mind, to not necessarily stop the negative thoughts, but be able to take a bit more perspective on them, and for those thoughts, feelings, emotions, whatever, to not have such a strong influence on you.
So is there a distinct difference between yoga and meditation, or is yoga just a form of meditation?
So
does that make sense?
Yoga is kind of like a bit of an overarching thing, and underneath it you might think there's like doing postures or whatever, doing like physical activity. There might be doing some cleansing stuff, there might be doing some breathing stuff, we call that pranayama in yoga, and there may be doing some kind of meditation stuff.
Okay, so it's like a whole kind of like process type thing.
Yeah.
Okay. And you teach yoga, right?
I do. Yeah.
Okay, so then I mean, I'm assuming this is like the same kind of like going through these kind of steps is what like a class would entail, or is it like, I mean, I'm sure we'll go into this a little bit further on anyways, but I mean, just so
generally classes in the West, or yoga classes, are generally focused on kind of like postures. So you might do a yoga class and you'll do like sun salutations and standing postures and stuff, so more physically based. But there's probably also going to be on an emphasis on becoming a little bit more aware, or we could call that mindful, of not only the body, but also what's happening with the breathing. How's your breathing going? And what's happening in your mind. So you're kind of trying to encompass those things all at once. And in yoga, you might come to that through doing postures like yoga class, or you might come to that through doing meditation class, or you might come through that through doing like a breathing class, for example.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, like, I'm sure there's loads of other people similar to me that have been gradually like gaining more and more interest into well, not just yoga or not just meditation, but the understanding of everything. Kind of but like a lot of the time I would literally just like type in online like how to meditate or how to that kind of thing. And I think I may have brought up with you already, or may have been one of my friends I was talking to, about like the fact that even if I was to read it off of a sheet in front of me or watch a YouTube video, it's hard for me to understand when I'm in that point of like, am I actually meditating, if you know what I mean? Because I know that there's like different stages. There's like, I think something like theta is like the highest one or something like that. There's different like frequencies that you tune into at different stages of meditation.
Frequencies. Frequencies.
Oh, bro, honestly, I've been getting so lost in all of this right now, and it's one of the reasons I've been really excited to come and chat to you.
So I guess we can. So there's a lot of different like meditation, if we want to use that blanket term, can kind of has a lot of different influences, comes from a lot of different places, and a lot of different geographical places in the world and times in the world. So that can get a bit complicated because each kind of system will call it by different names a little bit, and there can be a little bit of confusion. Is mindfulness meditation, or
right?
So we can break it down a little bit, and we can think of meditation as sometimes people think it's like clearing your mind of nothing, and I'm like, good luck on that.
Yeah. Because I know my mind's all over the place anyways. I'm constantly busy thinking of doing something else. Yeah. And you do get some kind of, because I've used Headspace. I don't know how you feel about Headspace, but I've used that and like. Yeah. But yeah.
So if you're using an app, your mind isn't empty because you're listening.
So this is my thought process. Like there's, I mean, I understand
concentrating on what they're saying in your ears. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean,
So
so how would you say to know when you're in a meditative state?
okay. So uh, in my experience, yeah. So if you think of meditation, sometimes people have the idea that meditation is to be like without thought, or kind of like completely still and kind of like
Yeah,
completely serene. A
floating in
lot of
the
people,
air and all that.
yeah. And I'm not saying that that's not possible, but for the regular Joe Schmo on the street, like who doesn't have 6 hours a day to practice in their Buddhist monastery, where all they have to
Mm,
worry about is like cooking their dinner. Yeah. The rest of us mere mortals have to like earn a living and look after our kids or
mm-hmm,
whatever it is we're doing.
mm-hmm,
So the practice of attaining that is maybe a little bit beyond a lot of us. Yeah. So we can kind of bring it down a step or two and think the other way. So first thing for most people is just becoming aware of what's happening right now, right this second.
So we're
So
talking like noises, like
yeah,
feelings. What are we
yeah.
talking?
So
Okay.
you've already talked about two clear things. One is the external environment. What can you see? What can you touch? What can you hear? What can you smell? That kind of stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
So just noticing that, oh, I can see this, I can touch this, blah, blah, blah. The other thing is your internal environment. So what's
Mm,
inside of you? What's the internal experience? What am I sensing inside of myself? Am I feeling something? Do I have some emotion maybe? Do I have some thought in my head? All of these things, yeah? So this might be considered first step.
okay. All right. Just got the first one out of the way. Okay.
Yeah. And then it's not that you're having to push your thoughts away or push your emotions away. It's just that you're taking a second just to like go, oh God, like what is happening right now? I'm thinking about this. I'm feeling that. I'm noticing this in my body. This is the act of noticing at things, because generally we're too busy to like notice that stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
What this does is two things. One, it stops us for a second, physically stops us because we have to stop and like actually take note. Yeah. The second thing it
Yeah.
does is it allows us to connect with the part of ourselves which is aware of what's going on, the part of ourselves which is like observing what's going on. There's always a part that is like
Okay.
tracking. It's like if our life was like a movie playing
Yeah.
out, part of
Yeah.
us are part of us is watching that movie, is aware of the movie.
Okay. That's a good analogy. That's a good analogy.
Yeah.
I catch you. I catch you. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Most of the time we're not aware that we're aware of what's going on. We're just in it,
Mm.
doing it. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But
Okay.
if I say to you now, can you feel your feet? How quick was it?
Like
Instant.
almost like that was yeah.
You're suddenly like,
okay.
oh
I see what
yeah,
you mean.
my feet are
Yeah.
there,
Yeah.
right? So part of it is like there's my feet, I can feel them, but part of it is realizing you're actually feeling your feet. Oh, I can feel my feet. There's some part of me that's noticing my feet.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Just got a little bit of a
What?
chill go through my body a little bit. So it really is all them kind of things, man. Because as I get more into not only meditation therapy, but like as you start to understand or try to kind of like dig into the greater kind of world of it, if you know what I mean. You start looking at things like, for example, supernatural occurrences, and like it changes. You have to change your thinking and not just be so closed off to the idea of anything, but more be open to the idea of everything, if that makes sense.
Mhm.
I mean, just out of curiosity, do you believe in ghosts? I know it went a bit random, but do you believe
This
in
it's
ghosts in
like
that
a
sense?
major segue, this one. Uh,
Yeah, yeah.
do
We'll
I
come back.
do
We'll
I
come back.
do I believe in ghosts?
I mean, have you had
Well,
any experiences, like personal experiences?
yeah,
Oh, bro, this is all about stories, right? We are literally just the cumulative experiences that we live. So, and I
that is
like
so
this
true.
because it's almost like a pathway for anybody to learn about anybody, whether you know them or not. And each story you can take different things from. I want to hear some of these stories, bro. Some of these ghost stories. I might have to turn off the light or something, turn it down a little bit. So, like,
um,
we won't go too far off in it, but like, what's like one of the craziest experiences that you've had to be like, ooh,
so not that I'm not advising anyone to do this, but I did a very long time ago do a Ouija. Um,
oh my gosh. How old are you at the time?
I was about 18 or 19.
Okay, I'll let you off, but still, that's oh.
Right?
Carry on.
I was the youngest person there, and there was maybe 5 or 6 other people there, and it was one of those, like, you know, it was a drunken night. It was a drunken night. There'd been a lock-in in a pub, and it was like 1 a.m. in the morning or something, you know. Yeah, I've not stayed up to 1 a.m. for a very long time, by the way. And we went back to a place, and then they decided to do this this Ouija. So they set up, like, it was a big table, and they put like letters around, just torn up bits of paper with letters and numbers around, and an upturned glass in the middle of the table. And there was about 6 or 8 of us. I can't remember. I was the youngest one there. And then
so in the first place, it's not even a proper Ouija board. It's like a bootleg, just put together type thing.
Yeah, totally, like, bootleg.
Oh, we'll call it. Okay.
And so we all had our fingers on the glass, and then somebody was asking questions, and of course nothing happens for a little bit and whatnot. But I kind of sobered up real quick, because that glass started moving. So there's about 8 people's fingers on the glass, and it starts moving. So instantly my mind is going, like, who's pushing? Which people have decided to push in the same direction at the same time? Like, I was trying to figure out how getting pushed, because I wasn't pushing. I wasn't in on it. I just assumed it, you know. So, and the table was quite big, so eventually I'm having to reach across the table to keep my fingers on the glass. And we go along a little bit, and it seems to be spelling out some stuff. Somebody's like got a pen and they're writing it down, and people got a bit edgy. So most people pulled their fingers off. They were like, not doing this. Eventually there was 2 of us, me and some other person, with our fingers on the glass, and the glass was moving so fast around the table that I could barely keep my fingers on it.
You're joking. Oh, what?
I'm not joking.
What?
And it was just like one of those experiences in my life that I cannot explain.
And you're having to, like, go back, and, like, obviously the longer time goes on, looking back on the memory, you're like, oh yeah, that's safe to say. You believe that there's something going on. Fair enough.
Who knows? I can't explain it,
man. I think the worst experience I would have had is my parents own a pub. It used to be open, now it's just closed down and turned into a house, right? But on the weekends, back when I was in school, because we didn't have school on the weekends, we'd help them clean up in the morning. Now you can imagine a pub on a weekend night cleaning this place up, absolutely grim. Mate, no, you don't even understand, bro. I remember cleaning up some of the girls' toilets at times. I'm talking about projectile shit across the side of the wall.
What?
Bro, these I won't even get started, so I'm gonna go into a dark place. Anyway, story time. I'm sweeping up the back of the pub. I'm on my own. Everybody else has finished their job. This time I must have been maybe like 14, 15, maybe. So still reasonably young type of thing.
Like child abuse.
Realistically, hey, I'm helping our family in that. Now sweeping up a little bit down the back, there's like a bit of a long hallway type thing. At the end of the hallway, there was the girls' toilet. So minding my own business, sweeping up. But as I start sweeping and getting further along, you know, you just get that feeling like there's someone staring into your soul or something like that. I'm like, okay, cool, see, because this is an old pub, so I know that there's like ghosts and that kind of stuff. People say that there's ghosts, that kind of thing. So I'm like, look, see some ghosts, it's fine. Just keep doing your thing. As I keep sweeping, I got to a point now, and just from the top of my eye line, I could see like shoes, like feet almost. And I was like, hold on, am I bugging out right now? So I started looking down, I started walking backwards. I didn't look up or anything like that, but you still had that feeling of like someone looking like at you. So as I got up to like kind of turn and run back up to the other side to be like, yo guys, I found a ghost. As I got to turn up and run, I see like a corner of my eye, like a gown type thing, one of those like old school, like, you know, when like in the olden days, like Victorian era, when people would sleep in those nightgowns, like one of them kind of things, right? And I was like, because I only saw it from a glimpse of my eye, and I was like, look, everyone knows I was crazy, and I was like, look, it must have been nothing. Must have been like a month later now. A month later, my mom makes loads of these bottles of like wine type things called sorrel. Now, each of my family, they're cleaning up around the house. 3 different people that were completely separate, so that they felt like there was someone in the house, and then someone may have left open the door, and someone just walked through the house. All 3 people end up meeting up, going towards the kitchen, because they said that they thought they saw somebody moving towards the kitchen. As everyone meets up, all you hear is all of the bottles of sorrel just start spraying everywhere, exploding. There must have only been like 5 bottles left. By that point there, I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna. Well, I don't know what you can think about that, but there you go. That's
What
my
can
ghost
you think
story.
about it? Yeah.
Right. It really comes to one of those points where you have to just be like, well.
And I think sometimes we try so hard to like kind of make sense of things and like understand things. We're like, we have to fit it in, like, so it's like, oh, that's what that is, and I'm going to fit it into everything else I know. The story's going to make sense. And I think because that's by nature, again, like what we are, we need to make sense of things, make a story of things. And I think if you can kind of let go of that sometimes and go, okay, this was like a really interesting experience, really unusual experience, but actually that's all it is, and I'm still here. And there was this weird experience. Yeah. And I think for a lot of us, we get kind of a bit too attached to, like, you know, weird experiences or weird feelings or weird thoughts. We get so over attached to that shit that we kind of forget where we are. We're still here.
It almost feels like it's almost like the curse of humanity, that thirst for knowledge, or always wanting to know,
or thirst for understanding. Yeah, exactly. It's kind of that can really screw us up sometimes, and sometimes we just need to let it go and go, well, this doesn't make sense, and actually that's okay.
It's hard, and I do get it, especially that was a bit of an interesting little side. Carry on, sorry.
That was a bit of a segue. Yeah, so look, back to meditation.
This is what I was coming to.
So meditation, like, you can think of it as like sitting there and emptying your mind. Pretty hard to do. Or you can come to it the other way and be a bit more mindful, like noticing what's happening in the present moment. So that was the two distinctions we could have. Remember I said to you about your feet, like, and I say it again, I felt my feet as soon as I said it. So your consciousness, your awareness is kind of instantaneous, and you can choose where to direct your attention. So a little bit like, it's a little bit like if you have a stage, your life is a stage show, and you have like a follow spotlight, and at one point in your life it's over here and so singing a song, another point it's over there, this is happening. So if you think of your, like, your attention, like how much attention you have to give to something, it's not infinite, it's just like this much. And sometimes you can expand that a little bit. And so that's what you're doing, is by being mindful, is you're noticing where your attention is. What am I noticing right now? And it's almost that kind of like practice of like focusing the attention and then maybe expanding the attention, which you might want to call meditation or something.
I think that another part of it, right, is, so as humans, I suppose we're visual beings, right? So whatever we see we're able to make sense of. But like when it comes to a point where I'm trying to meditate, and then you got your eyes closed and that kind of thing, I don't know whether I'm supposed to be looking for something or seeing something. Or like, for example, if I feel like I may see something, I don't know. How do I explain this? It's like, what's the question I'm trying to ask?
So if you've got your eyes,
see things?
Do you see things when you're meditating?
Yeah.
Is that what you're asking? Yeah. So if you've got your eyes shut, inevitably you'll have some other experience. So if I shut my eyes now, I won't see you anymore. But if I do shut my eyes, I can probably remember what you look like. And that image will be inside my head. I generate that myself.
Okay. I don't know. To me, it always feels like there's something, I don't know. I've never really had direction when it comes to meditation, that kind of thing. I think that's probably a major part of it. To me, it kind of seems like, like martial arts, you can try to learn martial arts on your own, but to have a teacher there to kind of guide you through the steps of it, it's a different kind of process. But
martial arts is a good one. I've done some martial arts.
Oh, right. What kind of martial arts have you done?
So I did Taekwondo for a little while.
Okay.
And I was really good at it because I could kick high because I was flexible.
That's not a part of it, because again, with basketball, LeBron James, I'm sure everybody knows the name of. He is known for doing yoga regularly. But man, that's insane. Let me go back to that real quick though. You did Which one was Taekwondo, did you say?
Taekwondo, yeah. Taekwondo is like 70% kicking.
Yeah, it's almost
So
like kind of capoeira like almost. Yeah, no.
Well, no.
Yeah.
So I was really good at it, and you like practice all these little like kind of I don't know what you call them now, like little sequences or whatever, to get your belts. Yeah. And then I remember going down to the Taekwondo Association place or whatever, and having to be there like for your belts awards or whatever. I don't know what it was. And then you'd be there, and they'd line you up according to size. So there'd be like people that were that big, like little tiny tots, yeah, like who were like doing. And then there was up to the adults, so we were all on the mat all together, like doing your belt. It was kind of cute.
All at the same time.
Yeah, I can't remember, but yeah, whatever. You're kind of all lumped in there, all the kids, everyone together. And then and I kind of did all right, and I kind of enjoyed it. And the people there were quite all right, quite a nice bunch of people. But then you had to do sparring, like fighting. And so you had like gloves and guards on your shit. Mouth guard, the whole 9 yards, like head stuff, yeah. And I was
like, about to tell me you were beating up little kids, right? Like setting them fine.
Yeah, I was like, I'll fight the small one. Yeah. No, it didn't work that way. I did get to choose. And then it was sparring's like, oh, you're still there?
1 second. Wait. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
It seems like the meeting just muted. Is that just me?
It's just you.
Sorry, can you check if you're muted real quick?
Can you hear me?
Oh yeah, now I can hear you.
Weird.
Yeah, it must have just cut out. Where were we? Sorry, kicking little kids. Go.
No. So anyway, so you had to do like sparring, which is essentially fighting, which is it's a martial art. Like, what was I thinking? I didn't like that very much. And, because like,
wait, how tall are you?
I'm like 5'10.5", so I'm average height, I guess. Okay. Not massively tall.
Yeah. I'm trying to work out like leg range and that kind of thing.
Well, yeah, but I have long legs compared to my body, so I have like my proportions are long. I got long legs, yeah. So that was not a problem. But like as soon as you like start sparring, basically it happens in 30 seconds. It's kind of over and done, and your heart rate is like through the roof because basically someone's trying to kill you.
Yeah.
And I quit Taekwondo when somebody punched me, and I felt their glove like touch my nose, and I was like, somebody's gonna break my nose. Not meaning to, but it's gonna. And I was like, nah, not into that. But the other martial art I did was Aikido. Have you ever done Aikido?
Oh, no, I have not. But I knew a teacher we had back in school, Mr. Webb. He was a bit of a dickhead, but he was also kind of sound. But he was massive. He was absolutely huge. But when this guy was doing Aikido, I think he was like the highest belt you could be. I walked past like a room watching him do Aikido, and he was destroying people. It's actually insane.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. That's kind of a really interesting form because basically you use the other person's direction and energy to kind of do the move. So, but we did this exercise in Aikido where you had to like hold your arm out like this, kind of standing and hold your arm out. And then somebody else would come and they'd like go like that, trying to break the line of your arm like that. So you can imagine if I push hard enough there, my elbow's going to bend. Yeah.
I was trying so hard not to do it myself. Yeah. Okay.
So I was partnered up with this bloke who was like 25 foot tall. He was quite tall, and he would come like that and hold my arm and just go like that. And I can't hold it up, can I? I'm a tiny bloke. So of course my elbow would bend. Yeah. Then I'd try with him and I'd go like that and I couldn't bend his elbow. And I was like, gosh, he's really strong. But the teacher was like, this isn't about muscles. You just have to send the energy through your body. Yeah. So we kept like going backwards and forwards. And every time he would go like this, like my elbow would bend and I'd be like, I don't know what energy he's talking about. I have no feeling. I don't know what he's talking about. And then I kind of like, at a certain point, I was like, fuck it. I don't know what's going on. I have no idea what I'm meant to be doing. So I stopped trying. And then I stood there and the bloke could not bend my arm. Another like weird experience. I was like, what happened?
Yeah. Because I'm obsessed with any kind of Japanese, Asian kind of culture when it comes to manga, martial art, any of this kind of stuff. I'm absolutely obsessed with it. and like
Have
they
you been?
talk a
Have
lot
you
about
been?
it.
Have you been to that side of the world?
No, I cannot wait. As I said, I just recently got my British passport, but as I got it, Corona happened. So,
Yeah.
but there you go.
We were in Tokyo about 18 months ago.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, what? That must have been.
It's like
This was. So was this completely before Rona? I'm trying to work out time
yeah.
frame.
So it was December 2019, I think. So it was just before Corona was like kicking off. Corona kicked off around February, March. So
Yeah.
we were in Tokyo, and it was
Couple
just
of
like
months.
the most amazing experience ever. It's just an incredible place. I loved it.
Man, I'm so jealous. I'm
Yeah.
so jealous. I mean, the point I was trying to get to earlier on about the reason why I love this place, one of the reasons, or one of the things I find super, super interesting is like how the East compared to the West explore the whole idea of energy and vibrations and all of this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Because that same kind of thing. You read these stories about martial artists that could, with one punch of their fist, break a whole mountain, that kind of thing. And obviously you have superhero stories, all these kind of exaggerated things, but you really kind of break it down. You're like, there is something to this whole frequencies and like I think there was something I was listening to about mind and heart, something about them like being connected. Like once the human body is just insane. It's insane. It taps into some interesting places. I don't know. I find it absolutely insane.
Well, which is it? My Aikido experience is the interesting one because like something happened.
Yeah.
I wasn't like muscling it out. I didn't have the possibility against this big bloke, but somehow I was able to just keep my arm straight, no matter how much he tried to like bend my elbow. So, and something happened, and I was like, "That's really interesting because it's not just my muscles that are doing that."
Yeah, I mean, I remember in school, like we used to this thing where if you tried to pick someone up from underneath their arm, if you held their elbows.
Don't you push down first?
Is that what it is?
I think so.
I can't remember it fully, but again, it's one of them kind of things where it's like you didn't even have to put any effort into it, but it's literally impossible. Wow. But one thing that I did find quite interesting while you were talking about it just then, you were saying how when you were younger, it was like you tried to avoid sports and any kind of athletic kind of side when you were younger. But interestingly enough, as you got older, it seems to be something that you were drawn to. However, maybe not so much the contact side of it.
Well, and Taekwondo is pretty contact, it's pretty full on contact. So I tried it out, but I don't know. I think the trouble is we're like society wants us to be such kind of cognitively successful people, and I think one of the things about yoga or even meditation is what you're trying to do is not connect with your mind only, but the whole thing. And in the West, what we like to do in the West is to break things down into components or parts that we can then analyze and understand. So we're like, oh, you have a brain up there, we'll study that. Oh, you have a nervous system. Oh, you have a breathing system. Oh, you have muscles and bones. This is how it's broken down in the West for study. This is how we learn in the West. Whereas, of course, in the East or traditional Chinese medicine, for example, would talk about kind of energy channels or flows of energy, and would look at things in different ways. So I think being connected a little bit more with the body is kind of having more of the systems online at the same time, if that makes sense.
No, 100%. There was something I was looking at the other day as well, which it seems so much to me that like a lot of the West or breakthroughs about the human body or what we know about the human body, that kind of thing. All these breakthroughs that are happening now seem to be things that have been almost either documented or discovered or known about, especially in the East, way long before. Apparently, there was something I was reading that there's an organ that's very similar to your brain, literally at your navel, which is this very similar kind of thing to when they talk about things like ki, and you have your like chakra points and that kind of thing as well. And you really start to be like, okay, so these guys are just rediscovering what a lot of traditional things have already discovered.
And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with like having new technologies that we can then look at things in a different way. I don't think it has to be a case of either one thing, you believe in this thing or that thing. I think it's more of a case of like looking and kind of what makes sense to me. What makes sense to me? How do I feel it in myself? So I think that's more important, really. And again, it's about us being forced to like have a correct understanding or have a correct story about things. And actually, no, just have your own understanding, have your own viewpoint on things. Yeah. And that's okay. Yeah. Know that first. Yeah.
That was honestly, because that's at the crux of a lot of things that I'm trying to do at the moment. Especially with the podcast as well. I like to have guests on that can share this same kind of message. I don't want people, I know that people have their beliefs and that kind of thing, but I don't want people to just be stuck in just one kind of belief, especially in this day and age. It's either you're like have this almost zealot like focus where you just keep on following the same kind of thing, and who knows where that ends up. But if the whole world could get to a point of almost, I don't know if this makes sense, not believing in anything, but at the same time believing in everything. Does that make sense? Being open to everything, maybe.
Yes.
Maybe the best way to, yeah, that's the word I'm trying to get to. Yeah, like being open to everything rather than so quickly or easily wanting to just stick into one thing. Oh, I'm just a Christian. I'm a Christian. You can't be this. I'm just a whatever, that kind of thing. But I do think it's something that's it is an awakening type thing, and it's something that is happening more and more, and I'm really happy to see it personally. So yeah, that was a bit of a tangent, and I'm trying to remember which places that we're at. Traveling. You've been traveling a couple of different places. I think you've only told me about like one or two of them.
So I miss traveling. I miss it a lot.
Yeah.
So yeah, going to Tokyo was the first time I've really traveled to the east, the far east. So my half brother lives there actually. So not that we went there particularly for that reason. I hope he's not listening.
If he is, hi.
Cut that bit out, yeah. But he's there also, and so there was kind of some, him and his partner met us, and he was like, showed us around and stuff. So we had like a bit of an in. We didn't, we landed in a really strange culture to me. Like I'd never, been there before, but we had like a couple of people to hold our hands and take us places and
like
show us
guide.
around.
Nice.
Yeah. And I've been to some cities in my time, New York being really loud, apparently aggressive on the outside. It can seem aggressive, especially to English people that have a terribly polite sensibility. Oh, I'm terribly sorry.
That's something. How did you? Because obviously people talk about how Americans love the accent and all this kind of stuff.
They do. They do.
Really?
Oh yes. And I really started kind of trying to ham up the accent.
Putting it on.
They loved it. Yeah. They loved it.
God.
But I learned a few things in New York, like, if you want something.
Sorry, 1 second. It's okay, Grandma. Grandma, it's okay. It's okay. Thank you. Thank you, Granny. Sorry, Grandma's trying to feed me. Carry on.
Oh, that's so kind. What was it?
It was a fritter. So if I could, it's kind of like what's the best thing to compare it to? Kind of like a pancake, but it's a savory kind of snack.
Yum.
Yeah. I do like my Jamaican food. I can't lie.
But like
Where were we? Sorry.
When I was in New York, like I learned how to ask for things. So like you'd go into a deli, and you, like in England, we're really generally quite good at queuing up. But when you go into a deli in New York and you go to the back and they're like cooking like burgers or stuff, or like making sandwiches, basically there's no queue, and you're like, so I would stand there and I'd wait for somebody to turn around and say, oh, good morning, how can I help you? What would you like? And of course they don't do that. They're busy cooking. Raw. And if you want something, you have to say, I want like fried egg, bacon on a roll. I want it now. And then you'd get it. But it took me a while to figure that out. So basically I'd stand there waiting to be asked like, what would you like, sir? And then somebody else would come along and say, I'll have bacon, egg on a roll, please. And they get served.
Yeah, no, I think I'd probably get caught out by that as well. I do catch myself almost like dropping into a line. I'm like, why am I standing in this line? This isn't even a queue for what I need to be in. Yeah, it is like almost. Oh man, I do really.
So, but what that taught me is like, it's okay. It's okay to ask for what you want. If that's okay. Nobody's going to guess it. They're not going to guess what I want. I have to tell them. And then
it makes sense. It makes sense.
Yeah. And then in Tokyo, it's like the reverse, completely the reverse.
Yeah. So I also watched this show called Terrace House, which is literally kind of like a Big Brother, but with Japanese people. And it's
I think
like,
I've heard of that. Yeah.
yeah, it's really
Yeah.
good, really good. But like the way that the thing that's so interesting is the way that they interact. It's like they don't even hug their family members and friends too much. It's very,
It's quite,
how to
yeah.
explain it, because they are very emotional kind of people. Everything is expressive, right? Like for example, even in the language, how they have like the way you pronounce "amai," like makes a difference in how everybody will kind of perceive. It's, oh man, I absolutely just love the culture. Sorry, I'm just constantly rambling about the culture now. Carry on. Where were we at?
You have to go. You have to go.
I really, really want to, man. I did have like a job over in Korea, but obviously Corona has probably slowed that down a little bit. I think Korea's pretty similar in it. I hear that they do a lot of like especially if you're someone that they haven't seen before, like black people. That's something I've been told
Yeah.
about a lot. If I was ever to go somewhere like Japan or Korea or China, that kind of
Yeah, I
thing.
did notice that. I must say that was one thing that I did notice in Tokyo, is that there's a lot of people that look quite similar.
Yeah, the same haircuts, the same.
Well, actually, hair was quite different, but we were in Tokyo, so maybe it's a bit more kind of, people are kind of a bit cool. The men looked incredible. They had some like, of course I'm generalizing, but some like really cool like fashion sense. But everybody is kind of more or less a certain height with more or less a dark colored hair. And then there was like, and I felt quite different actually. I mean, you could tell the white folk quite easily, and then
Mm,
occasionally I could tell a black person, because like they stood out like a sore thumb. It was like quite interesting to watch the kind of, it
yeah,
wasn't a very diverse city, not really.
man. Honestly, and I think they're like around, was it Seoul, and a lot of China and Japan are pretty much fine when it comes to Corona and that kind of thing now, aren't they?
I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, I heard
Yeah.
that they were like one of the first places to open back up. But no, it is just a complete. It's like living on a different world. That's what I can imagine. I can only imagine that it's like a different world.
Yeah, and it's really nice to experience that. It's really nice to experience that, and I felt
Yeah.
it was completely safe feeling. Yeah, I remember the first time I flew into New York, I changed airports because I didn't want to have to. I didn't want to have to like cross like town or something to get to where I was staying. I was too scared I was going to be
Mm.
like shot or murdered. I mean,
Yeah. Yeah. No,
yeah,
I mean, this is the thing. This is the thing. Like, even if you know that chances are even if you're like, oh, I know I'm being silly. Like, there's certain things that get stuck in your head, and
yeah.
especially with Americans, like all this news about America, this, America, that. I'd probably be the exact same way if
And
I'm honest.
it's just some prejudice rubbish that I've kind of like, that I grew up with, So,
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. But
Yeah.
there it is. Oh, now we're on to politics and diversity. Oh my God.
See,
What?
we can't even help it. I mean, like, going to the traveling part a little bit, because we're like almost on different sides of the whole traveling spectrum, right? Like, I've traveled a couple of times to my home country, maybe,
Yeah.
but you travel to a couple of different places, you had different experiences. I'd like to think that we both love and have a passion for traveling, even though you've traveled and I haven't. But
I got a
especially
few
with
more years on you.
just a couple,
Just a couple. Yeah.
But like, why, what's what is traveling to you? Like, why do you think you just can't stay away from it? Why do you like it so much?
I think I like being kind of taken out. I was going to say taken out of my comfort zone, but that's not quite the right thing. It's more like your familiarity. And
Mm,
I feel like what traveling does is it makes me look at things through slightly different eyes, or to reevaluate
mm,
things a little bit. I think that's one of the main things that I like about traveling. One of the other things about traveling is, of course, you kind of are away from all of your normal responsibilities or stuff that you deal with. So you're kind of in a fresh headspace in a way. Um, and I'm really open to experiencing. I don't necessarily like going to travel and then having kind of like a sanitized experience, if that makes sense. So
are you
a
like a
little,
backpacker type traveler?
no, I'm not. No. Okay, I might qualify that statement. I like quite a sanitized experience. I like to have a running toilet.
Okay.
and a hotel room, please.
Mm,
But
mm, mm.
you know, like some people go abroad, like, you know, the Brits will go abroad to like the Costa del Sol, and they'll go and have like egg and chips and ham or whatever. Like,
That's absolutely insane to me. That is absolutely baffling.
yeah.
But then
So
again, some people
you
just
know, I
like
kind
their
of like to
standards.
go somewhere and kind of be a little bit like, what is it that local people do here, and can I join in,
Yeah,
please?
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Especially like in terms of
Um,
history. Have you ever been to any places that you've like found some really cool kind of like history type thing, like an adventure, if you know what I mean? Because that's what I imagine when I go traveling, or if I was to go traveling.
do you know what? As you say that, I think about Croatia. We went to Croatia, and I don't know
Ooh,
why that comes into my head. I know why that came into my head. It's because this is really tacky. I'm not
it's
very
all
good at
good.
history. So Dubrovnik, which is a beautiful, like kind of a town, kind of walled fortress town right on the sea,
Mm.
where they filmed a lot of Game of Thrones.
Oh,
Yeah.
I love Game of Thrones, man. Oh my
Yeah.
god.
We did the
Wow.
most awesome tour around Dubrovnik, and the guy was there and he had like a flip book with pictures. He's like, here's the scene from the movie, here's where we are, and now you're going to recreate the scene from the movie. It was so tacky, but it was really fun.
Oh man, that of course that'd be sick. Oh, I'm gonna have to, let me just write that down real quick.
Yeah, Dubrovnik, yeah, which is probably
Yeah,
a
man.
really
Do you know how to spell it? This is gonna.
Dubrovnik.
There we
Oh
go. We'll
God,
just do
no.
that.
I think Google will help with that.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, man. I really wanna.
Cece, I have to go. I have someone to see in a little bit.
Oh crap! What time is it? I didn't even realize how long we've been
We've
going.
been
Yeah,
like
no, that's
chatting
absolutely
away
fine,
for
man.
like ever.
Yeah, pretty much an hour and a bit. Well, I mean, it's been wicked to have you on. I'm sure we'll have you on the podcast more times in the future. Before you go, really quickly, could you just let people know, I don't know, your social medias, what you're doing at the moment? Obviously, do a bit of your
Sure.
yoga.
So Ashley for yoga, ASHLEY for yoga is Instagram, social media, and Facebook and all that rubbish. Yeah, details of my other pursuits there. And therapy is EMDR Bristol, that's for trauma therapy. And yoga is ashleyrussell.org.uk. But you can find all that stuff at Ashley for yoga on Instagram.
Or I'll put it all in the description below. Thank you again, bro, for having me on. Well, yeah, I'm just excited to see what other things we can do together in the future. But yeah, have a good day, boss.
Great.
All right.
Good to
You.
see you,
Bye.
yeah?
Yeah, take care, man.
Hey, I'll speak to you soon, yeah?
Record. Oh. Yeah, I'm trying to end it now. Yeah, bye, man.